Ever feel like your business is either booming or barely surviving? One month you're rolling in the cash, and the next month you are struggling to cover your bills. You're struggling to pay your payroll, and you are stressed out beyond belief. That type of feast or famine cash flow is exhausting, and it puts a lot of stress on your business and can lead to some severe dangers. The reality is, almost every industry has busy seasons and slow seasons, especially if you're in the services field like landscaping, certain types of construction, certain types of retail, and restaurants, even. The good news is, you don't have to just live with it. There are some things that you can do to help smooth out the cash flow and make life a little less stressful. If we haven't met yet, I'm Dan Murch, one of the owners of Blue Collar Back Office. We help small businesses understand their finances, take control of their cash flow, make sure they're getting paid what they're worth, and eliminate some of these stress and headaches that are quite frankly unnecessary. One of the biggest financial struggles that we see our clients make is they don't have a plan in place for when things get tight. And then when things get tight, they make some risky decisions. You want to overuse your credit card. You want to take out some really expensive short-term loans. You want to just make some risky decisions because you feel in the pinch all of a sudden. The good news is it doesn't have to be that way. We can talk about the things that you can put in place so that you can make smart, long-term decisions and be ahead of the game when it comes to cash flow. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build a cash flow buffer to deal with the slower months, diversify your revenue so that there isn't just coming from one golden goose, and lastly, put together a forecast and a plan and some of the tools that you can use to be ready for when the times are going to get tight. First of all, you need a safety net. The cash flow buffer is like a foundation cushion for your business. When things get tight, you have a little cushion there to reach back to. Ideally, you'd have somewhere between 3 to 6 months available as a cash flow buffer. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's a lot of money. And every industry is different and every business is different. And 3 to 6 is just a nice way to start, but it's not a be all end all definite. So, how do I get there? Where do I start? Well, that's kind of the key thing. The first thing to do is to start. Start by doing something, even if it's just setting aside 5 to 10% of your cash flow each week and moving it to some kind of savings account. Just start by moving something aside so that you're starting to build up this cash flow cushion for yourself. The next thing you want to do is automate it. Set it and forget it. Have something automatically happen each and every single week. You're moving funds from your operating account to what you're considering your savings account. And lastly, take advantage of when the sun is shining. Okay. There's going to be certain months where things are going great and you're getting this additional cash flow in. Start moving those funds aside. That's not the time to go out and plan a new vacation or things along those lines. That's time to set it aside for harvest later because bills are coming and you want to make sure you have things set aside. Taxes, insurance audits, all sorts of things that are going to happen. You want to make sure you have the funds set aside to take care of them. Now, a lot of businesses struggle because they rely too much on one single revenue stream. In some cases, one single client. The goose that's laying the golden eggs for you. You've heard the phrase before, you don't want all your eggs in one basket because no matter how good that basket is, something can always happen to it. So you want to look for ways that you can diversify your revenue stream and try to level it out as the year goes on. For any industry, for any business, there are different things that you can be doing to create some kind of additional revenue, no matter what it is. Whether it's doing something like pre-booking services so that, you're giving out some kind of discount if somebody pre-books a service in advance. This way you're getting some work on your calendar for down the road. You could do something like partnering with other companies that are in the same kind of general overall umbrella of what you do, maybe offer a similar complementary service. And by combining forces and doing something some kind of discount program or some kind of outreach, you can each help raise some funds for yourselves. Anything that you can do to help add anything to the business, any kind of additional revenue will help put you in a better position for when times get tough. You can do things like if you're in the services industry, some kind of year-round maintenance program. If you're doing landscaping, you have your fall cleanups, you have your spring cleanups, but there's other things that you can do, throughout the year. Maybe get into snow plowing, snow shoveling, whatever, something to help carry some of those leaner months so it's not these big wild swings. Now, the last thing is using forecasting to predict these gaps. Here's a little secret. The biggest cash flow problems that you're having aren't really surprises. You're just not tracking them. As I mentioned earlier, there's certain things that happen no matter what, and they don't always coincide with when you're having these big high cash flow months. So depending on the type of insurance that you have set up, workers' comp, general liability, you're going to get audited. There's going to be some kind of audit bill that needs to be paid, depending on how drastically your business changes, but there's going to be something, right? And not planning for that based on how your business is growing and what's happening throughout the year can end up being this big burden for some people where all of a sudden the insurance policy renews, the auditor comes out, and now you're stuck with this bill of tens of thousands of dollars that you had no idea was going to be coming. Well, if you were keeping your finger on the pulse of what was happening with the business and tracking your financials, you'd be able to come to a conclusion of, hey, when this happens, there's going to be some kind of audit bill. Let me start setting some of this money aside now while things are going good, because eventually I'm going to have to pay that bill. Same thing with like estimated taxes. If you're an LLC and a pass-through income and you have to make your estimated tax payments as an owner, those bills are going to be due. Like whatever profit you're making, you're going to have to pay your tax on. So forecasting for that, April, June, September, December, like knowing when those things have to happen and planning accordingly make a big difference. And it won't be so stressful when those times come because you have the money set aside already. Now, there are plenty of tools out there that can help you do this. You can do something as simple as an Excel spreadsheet and just laying out, what your cash flow is, what your expected cost of goods sold is based off of your historical data. You know what your gross profit is, so you can figure out what your cost of goods sold is. Looking at your historical data, you can figure out what your overhead expenses are, what the things are that you have to pay every single month. And knowing what kind of funding you're expecting to come in, you can start to build a forecast for yourself. It could be complicated. It could be fancy if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. You could do something very simple so that you can start to lay out the months that are going to be tight and the months where you're going to get a little bit of extra and you want to be setting that aside. If you're using QuickBooks Online, there's tools in there that allow you to do the same thing. So there's plenty of things out there that can help you. Some are completely free. Some just require a little bit of detail, a little bit of work to be put into it, but the tools are there. So I highly recommend you use them. So to recap, if you want to avoid this feast and famine cycle, you got to do a couple things. One, start to build that buffer. Start to get the cash flow buffer for when things get tight. Number two, look for any ways possible that you can diversify your revenue stream and bring in some additional income into the company. And lastly, take the time to forecast out and make plans, and don't be surprised by these things that shouldn't be surprising you. Now, the last thing that we didn't talk about that's really important, because even if you do all of those things, you still have to be bringing in enough revenue. And that comes down to your pricing. If you are not pricing your jobs, pricing your service, pricing your products, whatever industry you're in, if you're not doing that properly and you're not bringing in enough revenue to actually cover the business and generate profit, no matter what kind of forecast you put together, it's going to be really hard to have enough money to pay your bills if your job's not being priced properly. So that's what we're going to talk about in our next video. We're going to talk about the way you need to be looking at your business and looking at your finances and the things that you can avoid doing and the things that you can put in place to make sure that you're getting paid what you're worth and generating the revenue that you deserve. So please hit the subscribe button and hit that little bell so you get notified the next time one of these videos come out. If you have a comment, please leave it for us. Let us know what some of your cash flow struggles are so we can help you. We can reach out and try to make the world a little bit of an easier place for you. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.